Hey, so today I'm going to talk to you about something called optimal arousal. Now, get your mind out of the gutter and grow up. We're not talking about sexual arousal. It's a psychological term. It's a term from psychology, especially sports psychology. Optimal arousal, we're talking about your mental state, your thoughts, your emotional state, and your physical state. So when your heart rate increases, your physical arousal is going up. So traditionally, it's just expressed by a bell curve or an inverted U that says as your arousal increases, your performance increases to a certain extent, and then it diminishes. And the concept is pretty self-explanatory. If you're asleep, your performance is not going to be great. If you just rolled out of bed, your performance is not going to be very good. If you are annoyed and bored and don't want to be there, your performance is not going to be very good. But on the other side, if you're stressed out, if you're full of anxiety, right, and you're having rapid ants, automatic negative thoughts, bum, 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 your performance diminishes. Before we go on, let me get you to wrap your head around something. We're talking about physical, mental, emotional. All of these things take training. The concept that I want you to get your head around is that if you're going to be an EYR fighter, you are different. You're built different. You're made different. There's something very, very different about you. The other thing I want you to understand is that most people, the vast majority, so more than 50%, and it's actually way higher than that, it's in the 80s, most people who attempt a career in combat sports fail. Most people never even make it into the amateurs. They play with the idea that, okay. Most amateurs do not become professionals. And the vast majority of professionals quit within the first 2 years. And of those that hang in there, most of them are average or subpar. They're not very good. So if you want to be average or subpar or just fail, then you should do what everyone else does. The status quo is a recipe for failure. So if you want to be like the vast majority, then do what they do. Think how they think. Train how they train. All right. So, ubiquitously, it's out there. You hear it all the time. You see it all the time. The coach, the consultant, the friend, they assume that you or their athlete is over here in their arousal, that they are in a state of, they don't feel good. They're in a state of stress or anxiety, or they're nervous. They can't control their thoughts. They can't control their, so they say, breathe, relax, calm down, be centered, be focused, relax, breathe. So I'm not saying that's never appropriate. For example, 12 years old, 14 years old, first wrestling competition, first track meet, first competition. Well, that athlete is probably going to be stressed, is probably going to be anxious, nervous, scared. So calming them down is the right thing to do. So how do you know if you're here, or if you're here, or if you're here for your arousal? How do you know? How do you know what your physical preparedness is, what your mental preparedness is, and what your emotional preparedness is? Coinciding with optimal arousal is what we call the flow state. And it's so popular, it's a buzzword. But you know, there's different states of flow. All right, let's define our terms. What is flow? Flow is an altered state that whatever the task you're performing, it's an optimal altered state, and time disappears and your focus and your ability increase. So you can reach a state of flow if you're a line cook grilling a cheeseburger and you're watching the bread turn golden and you're watching the cheese melt and you get it just right and you flip it over and then you make a perfect sandwich and then bang, and then there's the other one and bang, right? You can reach a state of flow. You can do it gardening. You can be boogie boarding or skateboarding and you're having a good time and time gets away from you and you've entered a state of flow. And that feels good. And the problem is, we don't have a lot of experience with flow. You don't have enough experience with flow and the different states of flow. There is a misconception that there's a flow state. There are states of flow appropriate for the task at hand. So the flow state that you get cooking the perfect sandwich is not the flow state that you need to be in when you're about to go and fuck someone up. Fighting has its own flow state, and everything is different for everybody. So your flow state, your fight ready flow state, and your optimal arousal is different than the crowd, because the crowd is gonna fail. So you make the commitment to make your flow state, your state of optimal arousal, better than theirs. Here's the thing though. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. There's a misconception that how you feel and how you perform are related. That if you feel good, you perform good. And if you feel bad, you'll perform bad. No. Sometimes you feel great and you perform great. And sometimes you feel horrible and you have the best performance, you set your PR, you perform great. The inverse is also true. Sometimes you feel terrible and you perform terrible. Oh, okay. And sometimes you feel great and you get your ass kicked. So you need to be more precise than that. It's not about feeling good or feeling bad. Most people are emotionally incompetent. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Emotionally incompetent. What do I mean by that? Well, most people feel negative feelings, and instead of sitting with those feelings and working through them or understanding them or even naming them, they push it away and put a facade and mask it and then feel something else or act like they're feeling something else. It's funny, I have a BFA in drama, Bachelor of Fine Arts. And I went to school to learn how to acting. And the thing that I came to realize is that most people are acting all the time. You're acting fine. You're acting normal. You're acting like you're not insane. You are performing to fit in to society, to work, right? You're acting like you want to fucking be here. Man, I don't want to be here. I want to go home and be with my cat, but I need to make these connections. So I'm going to act like I'm having the best time at this fucking party and network my ass off. Now, everyone's seen this video and they're going to think that every time they meet me. Oh, you'd rather be with your cat? Well, probably. All right. So then what I learned in acting school is actually how to not act. How to feel and then project the emotions that you're feeling, which is not what normal people do, which is why great actors are like, whoa, there's something special. My point is, you're a great actor because most of the time you're acting, you're not being. What I'm trying to get you to do is become a little bit more, a lot actually. I'm looking for you to make a commitment to become emotionally competent. I don't know, I'm not saying you need to go to therapy, but I want you to become competent with your emotions and understand your entire spectrum of emotions and actually have names for them. Because there's a difference between sad and depressed and hopeless. But most people don't even like to feel sad, so they just go to boredom. Or, there's an axiom in, or a cliche, I should say, it's not an axiom, a cliche in psychotherapy. The angrier the man, the more scared the man. And generally speaking, that's true. Nobody likes to feel scared, and a lot of people get scared and express anger. The problem is exactly what we talked about. They're emotionally incompetent, so they are still scared. So this phenomenon exactly expresses itself in fighting, where a fighter will get clipped and panic. But instead of, you see that too, where they panic and then they just panic but that person panics and then immediately expresses anger. They're still in a state of panic. And so then that's where the cliche, don't fight angry, that's where that comes from. And guess what? They're not really fighting angry. They're fighting scared. They're panicked. But everything they emote, everything they display is anger. And they think they're angry. And then they open up, their chin goes up, and they start swinging wide, and they start getting reckless and stupid, and then they get countered and knocked out. And then everyone goes, see, don't do that. And I concur, don't do that. The difference is I have a better understanding of what that is than the masses. The masses say, see, he got angry and he lost control, and that's why he got knocked out. And I say, he panicked and got sloppy, and that's why he got knocked out. Now, whether you get angry and you lose control, or you get scared and you lose control, you've lost control. And that's not what I'm advocating. That's not what Engage Your Rage is all about. Engage Your Rage is about being emotionally competent and finding your level of optimal arousal and learning how to use your mind and your emotions to supercharge your physical body. And for fighting, the flow state of fighting is pretty damn near anger, rage. Everyone's different. But you're here listening to me, so I'm going to guess that when you are feeling true rage, you're pretty dangerous. The commitment to do this is terrifying. Most people are too scared to commit to everything it takes to be able to go out there and really give it your all and really go into an altered state and really perform. Everyone else plays it safe, stays in control, wins on points. Not necessarily part of this video, but along the lines of commitment. Committing to actually becoming emotionally proficient, emotionally competent, and then learning how to fine-tune your thoughts, your emotions, your psychology, your warm-up, and find your optimal state of arousal. The commitment to do that is just as big as committing to finish all of your opponents. It's a huge commitment. Most people don't make it. There's another video I'm going to shoot called Yeah, But. It is completely possible, but not only is it possible, it's your duty. Commit to it. Step up. Become more than. Have a 100% finish rate. I'm talking about MMA. There are so many ways to win in MMA that if you don't make this commitment, I think you're a pussy. 5-minute rounds. In terms of athleticism, in terms of intensity, 5 minutes is an eternity. You've got 5 whole minutes to break his will, break his chin, break his arm, break his ankle, break his will, break him. And if you don't find it, you haven't committed to it. First, you got to commit to it. And then you got to train. You got to train your ass off. Make the commitment to learn how to be emotionally competent. Learn the difference between all of your emotions. Sit with them and understand them, name them, get and experience them. And this seems, I don't know how to emphasize this. This is such a huge thing, and most people never do it. So I'm telling you, part of your training is figuring out what your emotions are and figuring out what's the difference between rage and anger. How's that feel? What's the difference between fear and depression? Pretty close. What's the difference between sadness and depression, right? So there's an entire emotional scale. And as you become more emotionally competent, you can actually work yourself out. Feeling a little sad, work your way up to anger. What? Yeah. Anger, maybe not a positive emotion, but it's better than sad. And then slightly above anger, believe it or not, is boredom. Right? So if you're in a state of depression and you're done, for lack of a better word, wallowing in it, and okay, I'm going to trigger a bunch of fucking psychologists that are listening to it, whatever. You can work yourself out of depression if you get angry. If you find someone or something to blame and then get angry, it's just not usually very productive to stay there. Then you can work your way up to boredom, and then you can work your way up to something positive like hopefulness. There's an entire emotional scale. People fail because they don't even know what their emotions are, and they try to jump right from depression to hopeful. It's too big of a jump. Work your way up. I guess that's a freebie, because that's along the lines of becoming emotionally competent. That's not really what this video is about. What this video is about is optimal arousal and how EYR is different. I don't assume that you're on this side of the curve. I assume you're actually here and you're thinking the wrong things. I assume that you're actually not near your optimal, that you are on the left side of the curve, the low side, and not feeling good. And you want to feel good, and that's more important than performing spectacularly. I say find a way to amp yourself up and actually bring yourself up here, which most of you have never felt. You've never been here. Most coaches take you from somewhere around here, calm down, breathe, focus, and they bring you somewhere around here. And then you perform and you win. So therefore, you think this is your optimal arousal because you won. Well, you need better metrics than winning or losing, because half the time, whether you win or lose has nothing to do with you. It has to, you beat a guy that you should have beat. That doesn't mean you were performing optimally or anywhere near your optimal. That's why other sports are actually easier. 100-meter dash, you got you have your PR, you got your personal record. Weightlifting, easier because you can tell, right? Fighting. The reason I love fighting is it's so complex. I'm going to say most of you have never found your optimal arousal. But wait, there's more. Check this out. I believe, actually, I know, I've experienced it myself, and I've taken fighters through it, through training, through emotional competency, through mental skills. You can take this peak and move it over here. So earlier, I was saying you guys haven't even been here. And right about here is what you believe is your ready, your fight state, your go state. This level of arousal, this level of fight ready is an altered state. Many people would mistake it for insanity. I've been hit, crack, wow, while warming up my fighter, holding focus mitts, but he's in the fight state. And so he's not looking at the mitts anymore, he's looking at the real targets. And it's happened time and time again. And I'm not telling you, come punch me in the face. I'm telling you, your perception of reality changes because you're in an altered state. Your emotions, your thoughts influence your emotions. Your emotions create neuropeptides. They create chemicals that alter your physiology. You're having negative thoughts. You get nervous, you get stage fright, you start getting stressed out, you start worrying about, I'm going in there and he's going to punch me in the face and he's going to get it, and the best in the world has thrown a kick and broken his own leg, and all these horrible things can happen. Well, all of those negative emotions have a biochemical cocktail that affects your physiology. So two paths here. One, learn mental skills so you're not thinking the negative things and you're not focusing on what can go wrong, you're focusing on what you're going to go do right. Again, it's a do or die commitment. Go fight, go win, finish your opponent. This is the mindset. And finish your opponent as quickly and efficiently and brutally as you can. This is the mindset. Start having those thoughts, those beliefs. You change. Your physiology changes. Then thoughts repeated over time become beliefs. And belief precedes reality. So I'm going and giving you guys all kinds of gems right now as far as life and winning. And I just started with a pretty simple concept of the better your arousal, the higher your performance, until it starts to become negative, until it starts to diminish. But then I gave you the through training and through intentional experience and intentionally driving and intentionally amping yourself up and finding the way to raise your arousal and to get into the fight. Getting there, you can shift your optimal arousal to the right. The whole belief precedes reality. Man, that relates to this. Because if you don't commit to this, if you don't buy in, it doesn't matter. Through training, through mental skills, you eliminate the anthill. Fuck you talking about? Ant, automatic negative thoughts. Everyone does them, everyone has them, right? But you train yourself that when it's time, not out at the restaurant, not in real life, in the cage, in the back, before you perform, you lock in. And now there is only what I get to do. What I get to do to my opponent. What I'm going to do. I'm going to win. I'm going to control. I will do. And guess what? Stress, fear, anxiety. It's not in the equation anymore. All right. And then fine tuning.